1,477 minutes. That's how many minutes of birria recipe videos I watched. I took notes from 38 different experts, read 5 different blog posts that sometimes contradicted each other, and I did it all for one reason. To create not just my first, but also my second ever birria recipe. This is not a 5-minute recipe pulled from Google, nor a fast and easy TikTok trend. And I'm not an expert, not even close, but I want to be. That's the focus of this channel. And the only way to get there is by learning from those who know. So I spent days watching and re-watching the Taqueros, the Abuelas, the home cooks who open their kitchens to the world just to understand how this dish works and how to make it at home. The easy way with the Instapot and the slow, traditional way using a Dutch oven, which will require time, heat, patience, and a bit of faith. So, does obsessively studying birria for that many minutes actually make a difference? Let's find out. Step 1.
Consomé, consomé, consomé panchi. Ponchi じゃないよ、コンソメパンチ。うまさが効いてるコンソメパンチ。コンソメ、コンソメ、コンソメパンチ。
The general consensus from all 38 experts, and the generous experts that wrote the blogs and recipes, was that we need a ton of Mexican ingredients in order to create the finest birria. And let me tell you, this dish will put a hole in your pocket, which, come to think about it, I see why some articles and cooks spoke of it as being a celebratory dish reserved for special occasions. Although, you can find it in corners and taco stands nowadays, so not super special anymore. But I digress. In order to find everything I need to create this recipe, I would need to go on a scavenger hunt throughout the whole city to find every one of the ingredients we saw in the videos. Some were quite easy to acquire, but others, golly, it was like genuine treasure hunt. Thankfully, China always has what I need.
I love China. China.
After days of gathering, I'd end up spending for these 2 attempts at making birria. Now, I'll spare you the boredom of watching me weigh every single ingredient, and also save you the frustration of guessing how much a tablespoon of oregano, cloves, thyme, etc. actually weighs. While I show you the final weights on the screen, please allow me to rant just a tiny little bit. Dear experts, when you teach using cups and spoons, eat no help. I've learned the hard way that the world has way too many standards for what a tablespoon means, or a cup. Not to mention how wildly the volumes can vary. Some sifted, some don't sift, some just have more fat, different fat, more bone. I don't know, the volume can just go left, right, cup this, cup that. It's not the same milligrams.
Deep breath, NAEY.
Just remember, please, for beginners like me, do to others as you would have them do to you. Once we have all of our measures weighed out and set aside, it's time for our second step. Prepare the meat. To begin, I used 2 different meat batches, 1 kilogram of combined roast and short rib for the Instapot, and 2.32 kilograms for the Dutch oven recipe, which is basically the remainder of my meat that I had. Because I'm using 2 different cooking methods for my birrias, I decided to combine the meat prep but do the next step at different times. Okay, the truth is that I forgot to do the next step all at once, which would have saved me so much time. If you've been watching here for a while, you know that's a classic NAEY moment. Always messing something up early. But whatever, either way, the meat prep is pretty simple. We want to cut into small 2 to 3 inch pieces, pat it dry with a paper towel or whatever else you want to use, and then we want to season it really good. Now, some of the experts mentioned pepper along with the salt, but since others didn't really say pepper, I skipped the pepper for the recipe. Huge regret. However, if you want to do it, I don't see it affecting the result too much, or hindering at all. After we season the beef, we can let it rest while we do our next step. Prepare the chiles. Like I said before, I did this in 2 different batches, one for the Instapot and another for the Dutch oven. The latter not only has more dried chiles, but it also incorporates a chile that came up once in a while during my research, chile pasilla. I wanted to see if the consomés would taste different with this tiny addition, plus a few more spices in the total arrangement, as you'll see here, compared with this. Regardless, the principles are the same. We remove the stems and seeds from the dried chiles. Using scissors helps a lot. Then, because the OG Abuelas do it, we too quickly toast the chiles in a dry pan for a few seconds per side. You'll smell their fragrance very quickly. But be careful, don't burn them. The experts mention that it will make your chiles bitter and result in a bitter birria consommé. If you're using whole spices like whole cumin seeds or black peppercorn, cinnamon sticks, etc., you can go ahead and toast them too. I forgot to do so. Then, we place the chiles in a pot and cover with boiling water. This helps bring them back to life through rehydration. And you know what I think about hydration.
Is the essence of beauty.
Let them soak and rehydrate for 10 to 20 minutes until softened. Then, let them cool. Alternatively, some of the experts just put them in a bowl with hot water from the tap, and that was enough. So you can try that too. While we wait for them to rehydrate and then cool, we can begin our next step. From this point on, I will be focusing on each specific cooking method, starting with the easiest one, the Instapot. Sear the beef. If you read the cooking instructions I posted in the description box of the video, you'll notice that I moved a few steps around and didn't actually follow them in order. Mostly because, for the Dutch oven, it made sense to do it that way. But there's still a benefit to switching some of them around here for the Instapot. The grand majority of the experts spoke about searing the meat, so we will follow suit and set our pot to saute mode on high and add a good amount of neutral oil. It has to be neutral oil so it doesn't mess with our final flavor, and also because it has a higher smoking point. Canola is a good oil, so is vegetable or avocado. Wait for it to be slightly smoking and start searing in small batches. A good point that came up in my studies is that if you overcrowd the pot during this process, it will cool down too fast and you won't get the crispy browning effect, also known as the Maillard effect. I still can't get that right. So we'll be patient and make sure they get a nice crisp on most, if not all sides. Searing each side should only take a minute per side, especially if your pot is roaring hot. Once finished, it's time to get all that sweet gold off of the bottom of the pan. So we toss in our vegetables and start moving them around. Additionally, adding a little bit of vinegar, lime juice, or apple cider vinegar will make this process much faster and also benefit the sauce. But it's just a tiny bit, no more than 10 to 15 milliliters. Once the bottom looks relatively clean, hit cancel on your Instapot and start the pressure cooking option on more and for 1 hour and 45 minutes. If you want to be safe, you can do it for 2. Some experts only did it for like an hour and 20, but this is my first time, so I want to get it right. While it starts to heat up, we can go ahead and prepare the base for our birria, which is also known as adobo. Some of the experts recommended blending the vegetables and the spices all together, adding some of the chile water to the blending process before searing. But I decided to follow one specific tip I got from Joshua Weissman, where he let the sauce ingredients boil with the beef for a couple of minutes. Now this works better with the Dutch oven, but I still tried to find a way to do it here. It's important to note that I had a real struggle replicating this with the Instapot, because obviously it cooks with a shut lid that can go opened without pressure release. So this was messy, troublesome, and frustrating. The cheesecloth with the spices really wasn't necessary here because, well, yeah, this didn't really work on the Instapot. So I would recommend just add all of your ingredients for the adobo, blend them up, add some of that beef water into there, and bring it back to the Instapot. And here you can add a little bit of salt to taste, but be careful because we will add the real amount of salt way closer to the end. Remember, you can always add salt later, but you can never take it back. My blender is low powered, 450 watts max, so I did have to use a sifter to strain the sauce because it was just way too thick. And well, should have used the cheesecloth to save all this deliciousness. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a battle and a half. Hopefully the one for the Dutch oven will be way more forgiving. I have hope, a lot of hope. Oh, brother. That being said, I'm definitely keeping the contents in the cheesecloth for later use. This has to be flavor gold. The next step is pretty simple. We add the blended sauce to the pot, add any remaining beef broth or water needed to mostly cover the meat, and you add your bay leaves. 3 to 5. You choose. We close the lid and make sure the valve is set to seal. Oh yeah, don't forget the bay leaves. Actually, I doubled up because I forgot I put them in there already. Doesn't matter. Select the pressure cook or meat stew setting and set the time for 1 hour and 45 minutes on high pressure. Once cooking is complete, we're gonna allow for natural pressure to release for at least 10 to 30 minutes, or like myself, you can just carefully do a manual quick release using a kitchen towel to protect from the killer steam. Seriously, be careful, that steam is deadly, extremely hot. Oy, oy, oy. Whew, the smell and that sound. I've never been happier to release steam from an Instapot. So once the meat is cooked and very tender, we're going to carefully remove the meat from the pot. If using bone-in cuts, keep the bones. They're also gold. Now, using a fork, test if the meat is ready. If it goes in like butter, we can remove all the chunks from the pot and prepare them to shred. And man, oh man, like being fully honest, this looked and smelled so stinking good. The liquid left in the pot is known as the consommé. The experts recommend allowing the consommé to sit for a few minutes so the fat separates and rises to the top. That is known as liquid gold. But I was way too hungry. I mean, this was like 8:30 by the time this finished, and I hadn't eaten a thing. So I didn't wait. I grabbed some of the liquid and I went to turn on my skillet, or you can also use a non-stick pan or any pan really, doesn't matter, and put it to medium. Once you actually get to use it, we'll crank it up to high. Interestingly enough, La Capital, one of the most famous birria video makers that there is on the platform, lets the consommé and the meat rest for a whole day, because then you can actually grab the fat, melt it, and use that straight up. Optional as well, some of the experts strained the consommé for a smoother broth, but I didn't find it necessary. This was smooth enough. Now we shred the cooked meat using 2 forks or your hands once cool enough. The key is it should shred easily, just fall apart in your hands. Some sources suggested adding some consommé back to the shredded meat to keep it moist. Others just tossed it all back into the consommé. You do you. But don't forget to taste the shredded meat and the consommé, and here is where you can start adjusting a little bit of the salt, but not all of it yet. Some recipes add shredded meat back into the main pot of consommé, and so did I. And let me tell you that I already know that if any of this is kept overnight, the taste will multiply by 1,000. I can't wait. The tortillas. Now before we move on to the final step, I just had to let you know that because there are no fresh tortillas where I live, I made my own. And I also added consommé to them because I'm no dummy. It's gold. If you need to make fresh tortillas too, you can check this video. And if you already watched it and liked it, thank you so much again for all the love you showed for that video. It's what helped me get my YouTube channel monetized and now allows me to keep going in this lifelong adventure. So again, thank you. Okay, back to the recipe. One final step, which I'll save until after the Dutch oven. You didn't think I was gonna show you it yet, did ya? We gotta get to the next one. Dutch oven. So, with the Dutch oven, there's really nothing new here. Same as with the Instapot, we want to get a nice crispy brown on each piece of beef before we put it to simmer. So, just as before, without overcrowding the pot, we sear every piece on high heat. If you have an electric stove, that's like between 7 and 9 or 10. If you have a stove that shows you degrees, it's anywhere between 350 degrees Fahrenheit and 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're talking Celsius like I do, anywhere between 200 degrees Celsius and 300 degrees Celsius. I just made that up in my head. Let's see if mathematically that's correct. Regardless, so just as before, without overcrowding the pot, we sear every piece on high heat, flipping it every 60 seconds. More or less. I was successful with some of them, and others I flipped too soon. No matter though, because I know you will do better than me. Just look at the deliciousness gathering at the bottom though. That is what takes our birria base to the next level. Which reminds me, to get all that deliciousness from the bottom, grab a quarter of your cut onion and drop it in, and we move it around until the pan starts to look a little bit cleaner. Then, to help us fully finish the job, like we did in the Instapot, we can add vinegar. Normal or apple cider is fine. You can also add water. Some of the experts even mentioned using lime juice at this point. Also, you could technically saute the rest of your big vegetables and spices here right now, just briefly. But again, I was so hungry and I was hallucinating and I forgot all of these great tips. Once the bottom looks clean enough, then we can begin our birria sauce prep. I do confess, this is definitely not how many of the experts told us to do it, but when I saw Joshua do it and make a cool sachet out of it for his whole spices, which he then turned into the sauce, I knew I had to try it. It just looked so cool. Plus, I have cheesecloth at home. So we just get all of our spices into a cheesecloth, turn it into a sachet, wrap it up with some food-safe twine or whatever. I got this from the beef that I bought. And we're going to let it rest with the simmering beef for around 30 to 60 minutes. The longer, the more flavor, the better. Don't be like me though, make the sachet in a bowl, which I had so close to me. So yeah, don't lose any of that delicious, precious spice on your table. Grab it, drop it into the pot along with our vegetables, and we bring the pot to a boil on high heat. Then turn it down to low so it simmers. And like we said, just let it sit there for a good 30 to 60 minutes. You decide. Mine simmered there for an hour. I think I saw some other channels as well, just leave them there the whole time. And then at the very end, they made the sauce. But I don't know, it wasn't enough that recommended it, so I didn't do it that way. Once the spices have softened and become one with the fat, we can just drop them into a high-power blender. Not this one though. And make the sauce. Put that puppy on high for about 3 to 5 minutes because we need it blended. Like, it's gotta be smooth. If your sauce still looks thick like mine, you have two options. Strain it or add it all in there. Both are good, but I went with option number 3. Yes. I thought it would be so smart if I could save the leftover from the strain for a marinade later, or some rice, or anything else that needs flavor. And that's why I added that cheesecloth on top of the sifter. But of course, when you play with fire, you get burned. And this was boiling water. Brother, oh brother, did it hurt. So hot. Oh well. Oh, brother. That was hard. Bring this back to a boil. It's boiling. Bring it down to a simmer. Cooking time. By the way, I did end up saving most of what was left behind on the cheesecloth and sifter. But at what cost? Am I right? Okay, now we just bring everything to a boil again, and then down to low for a simmer. You gotta close that lid tight and leave it alone. We can come back in 2 hours, more or less, and everything should be perfect. Alternatively, you can transfer the covered Dutch oven to a preheated oven at 350 degrees, 175 degrees Celsius, after bringing it to a simmer on the stovetop. And then you can bake it for approximately 2 to 3.5 hours, or until the meat is very tender, which you can check with a fork. But I didn't have that sort of time. And man, oh man, this one looks even better than the Instapot. And I don't think I'll ever get sick of the smell when you open the lid. Whew. Anyway, we gotta see if this is ready or if we gotta leave it in simmer mode for longer. So take one piece, fork it, 0 resistance equals perfection. So now we can get to our second last step. These last 2 steps are identical to what we did with the Instapot, although I haven't shown you that last step. Doesn't matter because I'm about to. Once the meat is cooked and very tender, I mean, look at that, just falls apart. You carefully remove the meat from the pot. If using bone-in cuts, now you could discard of the bones, but I just kept them around. I feel like they keep giving flavor. The liquid left in the pot, as you know, that's our consommé. But this one should be different because we had more spices and 1 extra chile. Like we said before, some experts tell us to allow the consommé to sit there for a few minutes so that the fat separates and rises to the top. But by this point, I was famished. So I did not. I just left it all in there, and I will dip my tortilla directly in there to make the Ques Birrias. Now, if you didn't sift or strain your consommé before, you can do it now if it ends up being too thick for your liking or for your guests. It's time to finally assemble. So we get our comal, skillet, non-stick, multi-pan, whatever you have, on high if it's electric or medium high if it's flame. Take a corn tortilla, dip it into the fat. It's all about the fat. This coats the tortilla and gives it its color and flavor. Uy, uy, uy. And then we place the tortilla on the hot skillet and just let it cook there for a few seconds, like 30. Watch it dance. Then quickly flip it, and now you add a generous amount of shredded cheese. One important thing to remember about the cheese: traditionally, people use either Oaxaca cheese or Chihuahua cheese. It's a very delicious regional cheese. If you live by a Mennonite community, you might be able to find the Chihuahua cheese. But if you don't, Monterey Jack, mozzarella, or Monterey Jack with jalapeno, that's what I used. Those high humidity cheeses do the job perfectly, as you'll see when I bite this taco. If your kitchen is not messy after this, you're doing it wrong. It's probably gonna taste vegan. Get your pans dirty. Shove that cheese in there. Once the cheese starts to melt, add a generous amount of shredded birria meat on top of the cheese. Then we can fold the tortilla in half, and that creates the taco. Additionally, you can just let it sit there on either side for a few more seconds, or if it cooked well enough on the bottom and it got crispy, remove it from the skillet, serve it, and some sources suggest covering the cooked tacos with a clean towel for a few minutes to steam them slightly. But in reality, these are so hot that they stay hot for like 10 to 15 minutes. My wife mentioned she couldn't eat any of them when we stopped filming because some of them were still blistering hot, which is a good thing, right? But there's one more step: the consommé. It's at this final stop of our long journey that we taste the consommé and do the final adjustment of salt as needed. Grab a little bit of that consommé, put it into a bowl, bring it to your garnishes, which traditionally is cilantro, white onion, and lime. And get ready to say it with me: uy, uy, uy. This smells and looks so good. I can't even speak. It is literally making my mouth water every time I see it. Whew. So, final thoughts. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that birria is even better the next day. That rich glossy layer of fat floating on the top, that's liquid gold. I used it to fry up tortillas for days, and trust me, it just keeps getting better and better. This dish was a true joy to make, but more than that, it was an honor to learn. Birria isn't just trendy, it's a tradition, going way back to when the Spanish first came over with their boats and their goats and the spices and stuff. This dish is packed with culture, and after seeing how much food this made and how many people we were able to feed with it, 12 over 5 days. I get why it's considered a crowd favorite in more ways than one. Now, am I a birria expert? Absolutely not. I'm just a guy with a camera, a small kitchen, and a mild addiction to research. I should get that checked. But this is just the beginning. I want to take this very seriously now. I want to keep learning from your comments, from the videos, from articles, from books, from the taqueros, the home cooks, and of course, las abuelas. So stay tuned. The ultimate birria guide is coming, and it will be way over 10,000 minutes of research. And I promise, it'll be made with love and a whole lot of fat.
Diabetes.
Seriously, if you're not eating these tacos and thinking of that famous diabetes guy, you're not living. These are all fat, and that's why I love them. Before I leave, I have a very important question for you. Would you be interested in diving into the chaos behind these videos? All of the research notes, spreadsheets, individual video links, articles, and the rabbit holes I fell into? If so, where should I put it? I'm trying to find that out. I would be more than happy to see what you'd prefer. I say it because for videos like these, and I have many coming up, I've saved all my notes, all the videos I've studied, the spreadsheets with the nitty-gritty, and everything I learned while making this. And I would love to share it with you, if you're into that sort of nerdy stuff. Anyways, let's keep learning, one step at a time.
Or if it was the stovetop or the everything, the Dutch oven. Man, that is insane. Yeah, Getting better. Even better. Oh my goodness. Just look at it. I mean, come on. Whew. I'm gonna keep researching. And I will make the ultimate birria tacos. But this is a good start for the first time ever making them. Not bad, eh, baby? First time. But oh boy, was that expensive. $125 to get all the ingredients. Needs a bit more salt. For sure. Ah! No! Crisis averted.
I understand nothing.